So I'm very happy to be back here with all of you. I think people are really enjoying the story sessions. I've got a lot of good feedback. People are very happy. And today we are going to hear a beautiful story of a great saint, Brahmananda Saraswati. He was a Shankaracharya of the Jyotirmat, which is the northern seat of knowledge established by Adi Shankaracharya. Swami Brahmananda Saraswati is also part of our lineage, the Guru Parampara of which our Gurudev Sri Shiva Shankarji is the latest master, enlightened master. And of course, we being his disciples are also part of that. So this story has a special place in, I think, all our hearts. And there is a beautiful story which I wanted to relate today about his early years, how he found his master, how he became self-realized. Because it beautifully shows some of the qualities of such a great saint. It all started in 1870, where he was born in a small village in Uttar Pradesh in India, in a respected, well-established Brahmin family. So his family was well-to-do, they were prosperous, they were well-educated, also in the scriptures. And even as a small child, he was very intelligent, very centered. He was not so much like the other kids where he was just playing around all day. He was very observant, and he was not so interested also to just play all the games all the time. His name was Rajaram. His parents had named him Rajaram. So the small Rajaram did not feel like playing with the other children all the time, and he actually was very close to his grandfather, who was very old. So that became his best friend. So he spent a lot of time with his grandfather. And when he was 7 years old, at the age of 7, his grandfather left the body. He passed away at the age of 100. He was 100 years old. So he was very old. And for the small Rajaram, this came as a big shock, because as long as he had lived, his grandfather had been there. It was his biggest friend. And now suddenly he was gone. So his parents also felt that, it is maybe very traumatic experience for the child. It's a very difficult thing to digest. And he was still so young. So they did not allow him to come for the cremation, for the final rites. But even though he was not allowed to come with them, when they took the body away, he climbed onto maybe a box or something, and he looked through one of the windows of the house, and they saw them carrying away the body of his grandfather towards the cremation place, the lifeless body. And they were chanting, this is a custom in India, many places, they were chanting the line, Ram Naam Satya Hai, which means the name of God is the only truth. And now here it's important to know that in the ancient traditions, the Sanskrit words, the meaning and the thing are the same, they're connected. And they say anything that is temporary is not real. Only that which is eternal is real. So they say the only thing that is eternal is the divine, is the consciousness. So that one line and that sight of the lifeless body of his grandfather being carried away left a very deep impression on the young boy. And it made him think, he said, if all of this is temporary, if all of this is going to go one day, including me, including all my family, including everybody, then what is the point? What is the purpose? What is truth? And that, they say, that at that time he decided that if all of this is temporary, then it is not worth striving for. We should strive for that which is eternal. We should strive to realize God. We should strive to realize our true nature, to realize that which is eternal, which is indestructible. That is the only real thing. Now, 1 year later, his Upanayana Sanskara was performed, the sacred thread ceremony, where he was initiated with the Gayatri mantra. And they sent him, the small Rajaram, at the age of 8, to Benares, to Varanasi, to study the Vedas, to receive the education in the Vedic tradition, the Vedic scriptures. But because they saw that the death of his grandfather had really affected him, he was even more silent than usual, more contemplative, not interested in all the worldly things. So they thought we need to do something to, to liven up his life, to maybe he needs something to divert his attention. So 1 year after sending him there, they started planning for his marriage, his wedding. Now in those days, of course, it was not very common for two people, for two children to marry at such a young age, but for the you can say higher caste families, it was sometimes a custom where, of course, after marriage also they would not live as husband and wife yet, but the marriage, the bond was already made, so the ceremony was already performed. So his father, so they had informed him, of course, and then his father came to Benares to pick Rajaram up and to bring him home because they were going to do the preparations for the marriage. But he thought, oh, no way, I am not interested in all of this, because he had already decided that I want to renounce, I want to become a sannyasi, I want to dedicate my life to realizing the highest truth, the supreme truth. So what he did before his father reached there, he snuck out, he quietly ran away from there, and he decided that I don't want to get stuck in this whole worldly life. I have to escape now that I still have a chance. So he sneaked out and he decided I'm going to go to the Himalayas, towards the north, towards Rishikesh, and I will find a guru and start my practices and my sadhana. So it's said that he snuck out and then he started walking along the Ganga, the Ganges, because the Ganga comes down from the Himalayas. So he thought if I follow the river upstream, it will take me to Rishikesh, to the places where I need to go. So it's said that the first day he was walking along the river and it was so hot, young boy, 8 years old, with hardly any possessions. And it is said that in his mind he could hear the goddess of the river, the Ganga, whisper that, why don't you stop and rest for some time in the shade of one of my trees here? You can drink some of my water. And it is said that mentally he replied saying that, oh, Divine Mother, I have a long way to go to reach to the Himalayas. So if I make a habit of stopping now already, I will never reach. So let me continue. Let me reach there as soon as possible and find a master so that I can start my spiritual practice and I can start working towards my self-realization. So it is said that for 3 days he walked without having food, without even sleeping. Just once in a while he would pause, he would cup his hands, drink some of the water from the Ganga, and he would continue. And end of the 3rd day, around sunset time, it is said that a landlord saw him walking by. And he was so surprised, this small young boy, and he looked tired, and he was just walking there without anything, without anybody accompanying him, without any much possessions. So he sent his servant to find out who this boy is and where he is going. But the boy did not entertain the servant. So finally, the landlord himself went up to the boy. And he asked him, he said, can you please tell me, boy, who are you and why you're going on such a difficult path at such an odd time? So then the boy first, he replied that, why are you asking and what is it of your business? He said, no, please don't understand, but such an odd time and where are you going? There's no proper path here. So then the young boy looked at him and he said, kind sir, you don't know what path is right and what time is proper. So don't trouble me. Now the man was shocked to receive such an answer from such a young boy. And he realized, this is a very special person. So he said, oh Maharaj, there's usually Swamis and all saints, they are addressed like that. He said, Maharaj, please tell me at least when is the last time that you have begged your food? Where did you beg? Today. because it was a custom once a day. Any sadhus or saints, they used to beg for food, and then it was a practice to give it to them. So he said, at least, tell me. So he said, I've had water from the Ganga, and I'm contented. Then he said, no, please, I would like you to come to my house and eat something. Allow me to serve you something, at least for my satisfaction. I will feel very satisfied. Then the boy looked at him and he said, do you know what you are saying? He said, what does it mean to be satisfied? What is satisfaction? Satisfaction is getting that after which you don't feel the need for anything else. And he said, me having some food is not going to give you that. The only thing that will give real satisfaction in this world is realizing the supreme, the highest truth. That is the only thing upon realizing which you will not crave for anything else. Realizing which you will not need to realize anything else because you have realized everything. And realizing which you will not feel the need for anything else because you have attained everything. You have received everything. So he said, if you want real satisfaction, then don't bother me with your food and feeding me. You should strive for self-realization. Strive for the highest. Only that will give you real satisfaction. Now the man folded his hands, he bowed down, he said, at least you are such a great personality, you are a saint, to share this kind of knowledge with me. At least allow me to offer you one glass of cream, of milk, of cream. So finally the boy said, okay, he agreed. He said, but you leave it here on the bank of the river and then you leave. Don't trouble me. So the man went, got a glass of cream, placed it on the side of the river. He bowed down to the boy and he left. And then a beautiful thing happened, The small boy, Rajaram, he went, he took the glass, and with a silent prayer, it is said that he poured 2/3 of the glass into the river, thanking the river that all these days she had been providing for him. He was drinking the water from the river. So he said, oh mother, please accept this offering from my side because you have been taking care of me all these days. And only 1/3 he drank for himself. And it is said that the goddess, the divine mother, in the form of the Ganga, that she was so pleased and so touched by the gesture of this boy that she blessed him. And that she said, from today onwards, you will never have to beg for food. You will never have to take only water for food again. It will be provided. And there are many stories later on in his life, the disciples, the people who traveled with him, they used to share that even if they were in the mountains, in the Himalayas, in the middle of nowhere, or in a jungle, in a forest, that from somewhere food would appear. Some villager would have walked for miles and miles and somehow enjoy it. You don't worry about that. So it's beautiful. Then what happened is he continued walking another 3-4 days, and then he reached Prayag, what is now called Allahabad, where the rivers come together. It's a very holy place also in India. And it is said that he knew about the significance of the place and how sacred it is. So he bathed in the river of the Ganga there, and he meditated for some time, and then he walked a little more. And then he came to the Dash Ashwamedha Ghat. It is a famous ghat, place on the side of the river bank. And he was sitting there for some time in the late afternoon. And then a stranger sat next to him for some time. Both of them did not speak. And then the stranger, he took a piece of paper out of his pocket. He looked at it for some time, came and sat a little closer to the boy, looked at the boy, and then placed the paper in front of the boy. And then he said, do you know what this is? And the boy said, no, tell me. He said, it is a description of you. It says that you have run away from home. So the boy said, okay, well, so what? He said, no, but please tell me. That it looks like you come from a very good family. They have put a big reward for anybody who finds you. So if you have a good family, then all by yourself, why have you run away? Why have you left home? So then the boy, he looked at the policeman and he said, that is a very good question. Now allow me to ask you, why haven't you? Why haven't you left home? Now the police officer was shocked. He said, well, because home is very comfortable. Why would I leave home? And then the boy looked at him and he said, in that case, you please go back. Go to your home, enjoy. You'll be comfortable there. A man like you will never understand if roaming here outside without any possessions, whether I am restless and uncomfortable or whether I am experiencing the very bliss of life. No? A person like you will never understand. So you can go home and be comfortable there, if that is what you think. So the police were shocked. He realized that this boy has a lot of knowledge. He is not just some small kid. But then he said, you come from a very high family and roaming around like this, like an orphan, don't you feel ashamed? And then the boy looked at him and he said, kind sir, you really don't know who is an orphan and who is not. True, I may be small, you may be big, but it doesn't mean you understand who is an orphan and who is not. He said, the real Father is the omnipotent, supreme consciousness, the one divinity that governs this whole creation. So one who recognizes Him, who strives to be with Him, who spends time with Him, how can he be called an orphan? Is it not the one who has never even connected to Him, who has never even met Him or tried to meet Him? Isn't that person, aren't you the real orphan? Now the police officer was shocked. He said, please do one thing, you come with me, you should not stay here. I will not take you to the police station, I promise you. You come to my home, please spend the night there, let us talk, and then I'll give you something to eat, you'll have a proper place to stay, and then the next morning we'll decide what to do. And finally the boy agreed, so he went with him to his home. They spent a lot of time talking, and by the next morning he realized that he's a great personality. And he said, okay, if you go by foot like this, definitely someone will catch you because your family has sent this notice to all over the country. So let me buy you a ticket to Haridwar. You can reach much faster. There is less chances of you getting stopped. And I don't want to come between you and your goal of self-realization. You are a great person. Please allow me to do this for you. So he did. He bought the ticket. He sent him. And then reaching Haridwar, another police officer recognized him, caught him, but he was able to convince him to let him go. But finally, on his way to Rishikesh, there was a third police officer who found him. And that person was not interested in any knowledge or philosophy. He just wanted to get the reward which was mentioned. So he sent him back to his family. Now, having come home, his family was very upset, of course. They were happy that he was back. But they didn't want to waste any time. So they said, okay, we have to somehow get his marriage done as soon as possible. He explained to them, he argued with them, but he could not convince them to stop the marriage. And finally they called the local pandit, who was the family guru, to try and persuade him because he was very knowledgeable. So the old man came and he had a discussion with the young boy, but intellectually he was not able to convince him. His logic was failing. The boy was so intelligent. So then he tried to, emotionally he tried to convince him. He said, see, you are the only son. You should take care of your family, If you don't take care of them, who will take care of your parents? This is not the age to go in the jungle and meditate and all that. You should first, go through the proper order. You studied and you take a job, get married, have a family, provide for the family. And then when they are all settled, that is a time to go and meditate and think about self-realization. Then the boy looked at him and he replied. He said, Panditji, now you are 80 years old. Till very recently you have made no efforts to realize the supreme truth. You have just been busy with all these worldly things, and now your body is too old to even do any proper sadhana. You are too old, you have very little time to realize the highest. He said, isn't that such a shame? It is such a waste. We have learned from the scriptures that one who realizes his true nature, if a soul gets self-realized, he liberates his whole family. When someone becomes self-realized, when he becomes enlightened, his whole 7 generations of his family get liberation. So what more can I do for my family? That is much more than I could otherwise do for them. Maybe I can provide a little bit of physical comfort, but If I realize my true nature, they will get liberation. So then the man realized that he was a spiritual giant in front of him, even though he was so young. So he bowed down and he told the family that, listen, don't try to get him married. You are very fortunate that the Mahatma, a great soul, has been born into your family. And it is an honor to meet him. Then finally the family thought, okay, there's only one person who can convince him to get married or who can stop him from going. And that is his mother. Because his mother loved him a lot. He loved his mother a lot. But then his mother was also very wise. And then she said, I will not try to stop you. You have my blessings. And when people questioned her that how can you let him go, she said, listen, who am I to take him down from an elephant and put him on a donkey? He is riding on an elephant. How could I as a mother take him down and then put him on a donkey? I cannot come between him and his great future. But she blessed him with a word saying that, listen, you have my blessings to go, but at any point, if you want to come back, know that you are welcome. Please come back. Don't become a begging sadhu. You are always welcome home. 2 days later, it said he renounced and he left. So again, he went up to the Himalayas and he went looking for a guru. So he followed the Ganga, the Ganges, all the way up to Rishikesh. And then he was very clear that I need to find a master. I need to find a guru. But there are 4 qualifications that his guru needed. 1, he needed to know the scriptures, be well versed in the Vedic scriptures. 2, he needs to be self-realized. 3, he needs to be free from anger. And 4, he needs to be a celibate from birth. All his life he needs to have been a celibate. So he went around looking, and then he heard about one Dandi Swami, the one who have a danda, who carry a stick, the Brahmananda, who they said is very knowledgeable and who has been a celibate all his life. And so he heard about where the saint was, the sadhu was staying. And he waited near his cave, and after he finished his meditation, the boy came and he a little bit interrupted. No, it was just, he was finishing his sadhana and he came and he asked the man that Namo Narayana. He greeted him respectfully, and then he said, excuse me, do you maybe have some fire for me to cook something? Now traditionally the Dandi Swamis of that order, they are not allowed to have a fire, to keep a fire. It goes against their vows, their tradition. So asking him whether he has a fire to cook something is an insult. And hearing this, already he had disturbed his sadhana a little bit. So he became very angry and he shouted at the boy, what is wrong with you? Don't you know that I'm not supposed to keep a fire? You asking that is like an insult. How dare you? Don't you know I am very learned, I'm a very great saint? And the boy waited patiently, and when the man settled down a bit, then he quietly asked him, he said, revered sir, if you don't keep any fire, then where did all this come from? Hinting at all the anger that the person displayed. And the sadhu, the saint, he looked at him, the sannyasi, and he realized that this boy is someone very special, and he said, you are right, you must be a very evolved soul to be able to kindle this kind of reaction in me. And he asked him to stay with him so that he could teach him. So it said for a few days he spent some time with him, learned some of the yoga techniques, but then he left because it was not the master he was looking for. And it said that after 5 years of traveling in the Himalayan foothills, in the Himalayas, finally, in Uttarkashi, even more upstream of the Ganga, he found his master, which was Swami Krishnananda Saraswati. And he was well-versed in the scriptures, he was self-realized, he was a celibate all his life, and he was free from anger. And he bowed down and surrendered to him, and Swami Krishnananda Saraswati accepted him as his student. And he was initiated and got the name Brahma Chaitanya Brahmachari, So he became a brahmachari by the name of Brahma Chaitanya. Now he was very young still compared to some of the other disciples or brahmacharis there. And they used to also feel a little jealous because he was, he developed a very close relationship with the master. He was doing very well. And then one day what happened is a great scholar had come from Kashi to Uttar Kashi. He had come from Banaras and he was going to give a lecture, speak on the scriptures. So an invitation was also sent to his master. And then Krishnanand Saraswati said that, I'm okay, I won't go for the lecture. But if you want to go, he was telling his disciples, you can go. Because he never used to come out of his ashram much. So the disciples wanted to go. So then he said, okay, just do one thing, you lock the gate behind you. And then when you come back, you open the gate again. I will be here. So they all left, but just after leaving, closing the gate and leaving from there, Brahma Chaitanya, he was feeling uncomfortable. He thought, what am I doing? Why am I going to listen to some scholar when I know that everything I need to know my master can teach me? My master is the fountain of knowledge, the source of knowledge. What is there that this person can teach me that my master cannot? And how can I leave my master alone? There is nobody to take care of him if he needs something. So he wanted to go back, but then he wasn't sure how to do it because already the other disciples didn't like him much, and if he would explain this to them, they would feel even more annoyed with him. So he thought of something intelligent. He said, he went to the oldest disciple who had the key, and he said, I am still very young, I am a small boy. I probably anyway would not understand what this scholar is talking about, so I don't want to go. I want to go back home. I'm feeling homesick. And the disciples laughed at him and said, see, that silly boy, he's just a baby. And he gave him the key, he said, okay, you go back. Anyway, good riddance. We don't want you to come anyway. So he got the key, he went back, and he saw that just as he was approaching the gate, there were two sannyasis walking towards the gate. With dandas also, dandis. So he ran there, he quickly opened the gate and he welcomed them. They said, please come, please come. And he inquired that, okay, why have you come? So they said, we have come to meet your guru. We have come to visit your guru. He is a dear friend of us. But we thought that, we can just have a quick meal maybe because we have traveled from far. And then we will first go and listen to the scholar which has come in the town. We'll hear him speak for some time and then we will come and meet your master. So he said, of course, please you come. So he took them to to his room, because he had a small room there. Took them to the room and he quickly made some food for them so that they would not be late for the lecture. They had the food and they left. And then later what happened when the other boys came back, the disciples came back, then offer you something to eat. Have you eaten? And he said, yes, Maharaj, of course. We had it here in your ashram. Then he was puzzled. He said, how is that possible? Because I didn't know you were here and all the disciples had gone. And they pointed at Brahma Chaitanya. They said, no, see this small brahmachari, he was there. He welcomed us so nicely and he served us food very quickly so that we would not be late for the session. And he took such good care. And then the master looked at him and said, is that true? You didn't go. And then he said, no, I was feeling, I thought anyway I will not understand it. I was feeling homesick, so I decided to come back. But the master knew that there must be something more to this. So he used his yogic powers and his intuition and he realized what had happened. That this boy was so much more devoted and sincere than the other disciples. So afterwards he called him and he said, Brahma Chaitanya, I know what has happened. And I have seen that you have a much greater capacity than the other disciples. So what I will do is, I will give you a special technique, but you should practice it by yourself. Because the others will not understand it, they are not ready, and it will create more enmity between you and the other disciples. So tomorrow I will pretend to get angry with you, and I will send you to stay in some of the caves a few kilometers from here. And once a week, you come here, and you share your progress with me, share your experiences with me. I will give you this special technique, which is only for you to practice. You practice it there by yourself. There will not be any disturbance. And once a week, you share your progress and your insights with me. And so it happened the next day. The master looked as if he got up with a very bad mood and he was angry and shouting at people and throwing with things. And then when he saw Brahma Chaitanya, he said, and you are just a child. What are you doing here? This is an ashram, not a place for children. Get lost. And he told the oldest disciple, you send him away. And he said, okay, if you're so keen about being here, you send him to these caves a few kilometers from there. You stay there once a week on Thursday. You're allowed to come and see me. Rest of the time, I don't want to see you anywhere here. This is not a place for children. And the boy bowed down and he went. He packed enough food for 1 week. And then the boy took him to the caves and left him there. And every week on Thursday, once a week, he would come to the ashram. He would meet the master, share his experience. The master called one of the older disciples and he said, please go to the cave there, to Brahma Chaitanya, and tell him that I would like to come and stay with him. Ask him if there is any space left in the cave. So it was an odd request, but then the boy went there. He met, and there were 3 caves. He was staying in the middle cave. On the right and the left, the cave was empty. So he said, no, the master has sent me with this message to tell you, asking you that if there is any place in your cave, because he wants to come and stay here. So Brahma Chaitanya replied, please tell the master there is no place left. Now the boy got very annoyed. He said, how dare you say that? He is the master. If he wants to come and stay, we have to make place. He said, listen, I know that you don't like me and there is no point in us arguing here. You have come here right now as a messenger. So my only request is that you please convey my words literally to the master, that there is no place left. And after that, you tell him your opinion, whatever you want to say. But this is what I want to convey. Now the boy was shocked. He went back. He told the master. And surprisingly, the master didn't say anything. So the boys they were gossiping, discussing amongst each other that this is ridiculous, it is outrageous. And then the next Thursday, when Brahma Chaitanya came back to the ashram, he met the master and they briefly met, and then the master didn't mention it. So finally the boys, they couldn't take it anymore. They said, Master, please forgive us, but how come you're not even telling him that what he did was wrong? How dare he tell you that there is no space and this is totally inappropriate? You know, we feel so uncomfortable being in the same room with someone who treats our master like that. Please tell us, how should we deal with that? How should we behave with him? And the master smiled and then he said, Brahma Chaitanya, you please explain it to them. And he was feeling very shy. He bowed his head. He said, no, master, how can I? It is not my place to explain anything to them. You know, you are the master. You are their master. It is not my place. He said, no, I'm telling you that. He said, no, but this is just something between you and me, master. It is none of their business. Then the master smiled and said, okay, then you please explain it to me. Doesn't matter if they overhear it, that is none of our business. So then the boy realized that he has to say, and he said, Master, I know that when you asked me if there is place in my cave for you to come and stay, you are not talking about the physical cave. The cave next to me on my left, as well as the cave on my right, were empty, and you know that. And you could come and stay there anytime. You don't need my permission. Who am I to say anything? Who am I to ask anything of? You know? So I knew that you are talking about the cave of my heart. And from the very first day that I met you, that I bowed down to you, that I surrendered to you, and I recognized you as my guru, from that moment, my heart, my whole being has been filled with nothing but you, with my love for you, with my devotion to you. So even if you would have asked me on that very first day if there is any space left in the cave of my heart, I would have said no, because it is all filled with you. And when he explained, all the students, disciples, they realized that something else was going on a whole different level. And it is said that few more years his sadhana continued, and then At the age of 25, he left Uttarkashi with his master, and he was self-realized. At the age of 25, his master blessed him, initiated him as a Swami, and he was a self-realized master. And together they left from there, and after that there are so many other stories. For today this is sufficient. But it's a beautiful story if you see the qualities of Brahmananda Saraswati. As a seeker, it is a story with many things to ponder over. So it's nice, you can contemplate it, meditate on it, and some more things will open up. I don't want to give you everything ready-made, but these stories contain a lot of truth and wisdom, and a lot of guidance for the sincere seeker also, and inspiration for the devotee. So I hope that you enjoyed this story, and next week on Wednesday we have another story session at the same time, and I think that time I will be sharing a beautiful story from the life of Shukadeva, Shuka, who was the son of Vedavyasa. There's some beautiful stories about his realizations and insights. I'll be sharing that next week. And I wish you all the best, lots of love and blessings to all. Jai Gurudev. Namaste.